Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you game 1 in a best of 3 series here on Neo Planet S. Morrow spawning as the red Terran on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, STC has spawned as the blue Terran. Terran versus Terran matchup, something that I'm not really that familiar with just because many of my games have been from the TESL where there seems to be a lack of Terran players. Surprisingly, no Terran players, meaning that you're not going to see that many Terran versus Terran matchups. So I will be watching this, making some theories, or just proposing some ideas as what these players could be trying to do. Now, I am expecting a bit of an economic game here, as Terran versus Terran early on, short of just mass Marines before, you really didn't have that high damage potential that you could really just walk into your opponent's base. Now, with the introduction of Widow Mines, one Widow Mine shot on an unsuspecting group of Terran Marines really puts just rains on that parade completely. Widow Mines, very effective, cost effective. It will also end up burning through a scanner sweep in order to spot them. And in burning through that scanner sweep, you end up losing a lot more minerals anyways as a Terran player if you are trying to push with mass Marines. That's been a strategy that really we haven't seen in quite some time. So that is the reason why I am expecting a bit of a macro game, as we are now seeing both sides do this bit of scouting. Now, there has been a slight change in terms of gas timing. Sometimes Terran players will take their gas around 15, and then this is a slight variation on the 1 racks expand. Normally, 1 racks expand, you get your barracks up, and then you go gasless until you get your command center. Instead, we now see that the refinery is coming into play for both sides, and this has really been because Terran players have really liked trying to get into that factory still. They want to make sure that they do not fall too far behind in tech, as there is an SCV trying to make his way through. It looks like the Marine will get off some easy shots there. Same thing off to the north. Both sides microing and scouting at the same time, and both sides will just be running away from each other. Now, I do expect a factory to come down from both of these players. Factories do take a fair amount of gas, 100 gas. That does mean, I believe it's like 55 game seconds in order to get 100 gas. So it will be about another 30 seconds from now before we see those factories come down. So far, Marine production still high on the priority of both of these players, as they want to make sure they're not overwhelmed by sheer numbers. 3 Marines, both sides training up Marines as well, as we now see Morrow doing a little bit of target practice on those destructible rocks right there. Nothing to worry about though, since for some reason Marines have infinite ammo in StarCraft 2, unless you're Kerrigan stranded on a planet. Anyways, let's go ahead. SCV now trying to make its way over. It will be backing off, as we are looking at this SCV just doing a little bit of scouting. Now, because of that 4th Marine, the SCV realizes that it would not win in a firefight. Meanwhile, both sides are going into the reactor, so this is going to be a small window of opportunity for STC to actually engage with semi-superior numbers. He has an SCV in this group, and if he can just absorb a bit of damage, then on that SCV, that is going to end up working out very well. There you go. There's the SCV trying to stay together. There you go. And there you go. The SCV has absorbed a bit of damage, and there you can see the effect. 2 Marines down, and SCV gets taken down, and a brilliant play by STC, knowing that his opponent is probably doing a very similar build order. All right, the Marine's trying to take down this SCV there. Is it going to get taken down? Oh, 1 Marine does get fall. Another SCV. Oh, beautiful micro by Morrow to really even up the fight there. Worker kill count is 2-1, but the command center was completed. This is tremendously huge, as Morrow did not delay too much in trying to get an SCV to finish that command center, and that was important as STC took a very small advantage there as opposed to a larger one. The follow-up play, we are looking at a starport. It looks as though we are double training Widow Mines, and we are also going into an armory and adding a reactor on this barrack. So STC, in a number of words, going for Widow Mine drops into Hellbat drops, and there is going to be hell to pay, so to speak, for all of these SCVs. Now coming back around, Morrow is actually thinking defensively. He does have the starport, but he's training up Vikings in order to shoot down that medevac. That is very important. Viking has a very effective range, a range of 9, and you can get 2 to 3 shots onto a medevac even with those afterburners. So far, Hellbats are being added. Widow Mines are up in the front, adding an extra layer of protection against all of these units here, as we will be looking at a transition into the mid-game, both sides looking to get a bit of an advantage. Now, in this Terran versus Terran matchup, I am surprised that we don't see a command center in either of these players' bases. Normally, some Terran players like to get that orbital command, start training up more SCVs, and then call mules down. I guess the current meta is to not do that, as both players are opening up with very similar builds. Now we can see this double medevac quad Hellbat drop now looking to rush in here. There is Hellions now trying to put pressure on the front door as Morrow lifts a barracks to gain sight onto the high ground. You can see that there is a missile turret right there, and there you go, Hellbats just dealing so much damage already. Already 6 kills, as the SCVs are going to be hiding right next to that bunker. Alright, Viking now looking to come in. Hellbats trying to engage here. Down it goes as the Hellbats now dropping into the main. Hellbats looking to get some shots off onto those SCVs, but they are a bit slow, as this last Hellbat will get taken down here in just a moment. Hellions finishing it off. Alright, Morrow now coming out slightly ahead. Let's take a look at the resources lost. 1150 versus 563. Harvester count 37 to 39. We are fairly even up until this point, as Morrow now looking to go for perhaps Hellbat drops of his own. You can see double medevacs now being trained, and also SCVs repairing these Hellions. Alright, one thing, I really wish that the servo reactors were on the Hellions, were just free after you trained your first Hellbat. I don't know, it seems like an upgrade that no Terran players ever use, just because well, the Hellions get killed off so frequently in the early stages. There's no real reason for them to be microed to stay around and stay alive. Meanwhile, Hellbats are dropping right here. SCVs are going to get toasted. There you go. Was that Hellbat drop a little bit more effective? Yes, 11 workers killed. Harvester count now 36 to 43. And this has to be a concern for Morrow. Morrow cannot expect to stay in this game if he keeps on allowing STC to pressure him as such. You can see that the bunker is there. There was one missile turret. It has gotten some kills, but Morrow needs to land a blow onto the medevac and then let it finish off with the turret, or do something. He does have a third command center now being built, but so does STC, and that is already done and upgrading to an orbital command. So far, we've seen small scrimmages coming in from both of these players, but no one has really dealt a devastating blow to the other so far, as we're seeing that a 92 to 89 supply difference. All we see now is about 150 mineral difference between these two players. What you could actually say, or what you can say as well, is that STC is, I guess, getting 3 extra Marines a minute. It may not sound like much, but you could also say it's an extra Hellbat or an extra siege tank, and that does eventually start to pile up. Vikings are in position to perhaps protect against any sort of Hellbat drops. There's one Hellion off over there. Hellion versus Hellbat in a stand-up fight. Well, we all know how that goes. Hellbat easily taking out its Hellion counterpart. Meanwhile, Morrow is coming in as well. Both sides will be landing those orbital commands nearly identical times, as the mules are now established. So far, an extra SCV has been brought over as well, and both players taking this time to regroup. And oh, is this Widow Mine going to do anything? Nope. Oh, he's going to burrow. Oh, and there he goes. Poor Hellion is able to get away before a Widow Mine charge. Actually, I don't even know what the attack is on a Widow Mine. What is it? I can't read that. Alright, I got the little overlay on top. Anyway, Siege Tank now making its way over, as the Hellbats, Siege Tank, and Widow Mine now moving forward. One Hellbat off over here. You can see a quick scanner sweep revealing the center here, Siege Tanks, and this is turning into a very, very heavy mech war. Vikings in the air for air superiority, and STC realizes he does not want to engage in that fight. He sees his opponent's units and thinks to himself, that is not a good engagement. Perhaps I can catch something else off guard, and there is a beautiful Widow Mine hit, taking down a Viking, and also getting some splash damage on some others. 40 points of splash damage for those of you guys wondering exactly how much, as the Vikings are now hunting for other Vikings. All right, there you go. 4 Vikings now coming in. It looks as it is going to go into ground mode. This is actually a brilliant move, as Morrow unable to get into ground mode in time. And there you have it. Siege tanks will siege there, and here is the battle. Both sides are going to engage. More Vikings landing on top of these siege tanks here, and Morrow is now in a little bit of trouble. All right, he will be able to clean the rest of this up. There are siege tanks now up on the high ground, and there's a scanner sweep coming in. This has not been a good engagement. Morrow actually losing a lot of his Hellbats there. That was not a smart engagement at all, as the siege tanks are just going to roll on in, finish off the rest of the units, and claim the victory there. STC evening up the overall losses, as we now see STC coming in. Oh, double Hellbat drops now coming into the third base. They are going to torch a whole bunch of SCVs. SCVs are behind those Hellbats. There you go. Gets them all in an easy shot there, as a siege tank now brought over. All right, STC may try to go into the main here. There is plenty of room to maneuver, as a Thor now being brought over. All right, the medevacs now dropping those Hellbats straight inside STC. Looks like he's going to be dealing another killing blow. 29 workers. And now bringing it up the front as well. This could be potentially bad. Siege tanks now in position. There you go. They are all in siege mode. And Morrow is in serious trouble, as he was not able to challenge STC's siege tanks before they got into siege mode. Vikings are here. Hellbat's now going to try to drop straight up onto those units. It looks as though some of them will be successful. More siege tanks now being brought over as well. And Morrow sacrificing a lot of units in order to engage in this fight here. And you can see that the Thor is now being brought over. Very good micro there. Siege tanks now coming in as well. It looks as though SCVs will be doing some massive repairs, as the Vikings and this pure mech game, so entertaining. STC now with a 30 supply advantage. One Thor being repaired tremendously. The Punisher cannons to take down some of these Vikings instead, as the siege tanks and a siege tank up on the high ground just pummeling all of these units. All right, there goes that siege. Nope, the siege tank looks like he is just outside of combat range. Not going to be able to spot it at all. This Thor now down to 41 hit points. Once again, gonna be repaired, as the Vikings and the siege tanks are still shooting at each other. That siege tank up on the high ground in a bit of trouble, will get taken down. As there you go, rinse and repeat. Morrow coming back in. What is he doing? He's shooting down the barracks as opposed to going after the units. A little bit of a messy play there, or perhaps what Tychus was piloting this particular Thor, as we now see another siege tank getting taken down. Meanwhile, Vikings now pressuring over here at the third. SCVs are being brought over. They will finish it off very, very easily, but I believe the tipping point has already been reached. 68 workers versus 44. Command center, double command center being built at the gold mineral patches, and STC is looking absolutely on top of things, as he has cleaned up over 69, or exactly 69 workers compared to 8. You are never in a good situation if you have to replace 69 workers. Harvester count is now 47 to 71. That's going to be a very, very telling story in terms of economy. The amount of gas being harvested by Morrow is just non-existent, nearly down to less than 100 gas a minute. That means that in a siege tank war, what STC will be coming at him with 6 siege tanks for every one that Morrow can train. So far, that barracks will get taken down there, as we now see one command center, perhaps a planetary fortress, will be upgraded, and then we may see another planetary fortress once more. Wait, no, where is this planetary fortress? Oh, planetary fortress off over here at the 9 o'clock position, as we see some decent saturation on all of his bases. STC nearly mined out in his main. Morrow now down to only 3 bases compared to STC's 5. And STC has yet to... No, he's double training SCVs. He is not even bothering with a planetary fortress, thinking that he just needs reinforcements. Morrow walking in straight into a meat grinder there, decides to back away. But this is one of the situations on this particular map. Neo Planet S, this center zone is a type of no man's land. And that no man's land, very, very rarely do units ever fly over. Unless units fly over there occasionally, but no ground units ever travel into that particular area. So, with STC holding on to this in the center, he may actually come out significantly ahead just because Morrow will never spot it. Alright, what is this? A third command center now being built. STC looking to start suiciding SCVs, it appears, in order to free up supply and then just use mass mules. Alright, there you go. Hellbats are trying to push through. It looks like the Hellbats have now been replaced, or have replaced Marines in terms of fodder units, as the Vikings now pushing in as well. Morrow down by 50 supply, down a base as well, as we now see a bit of a counterattack. Oh, this could be bad news. STC is not aware of the counterattack. Units now trying to make their way over it. They are going to try to retreat back here. The Hellbats, the Siege Tanks, are going to simply walk into STC's base and get in a little bit of damage. Here we go, coming in from the back. Siege Tanks getting in those shots. Medevacs now trying to repair. Is it going to be enough as more Siege Tanks are coming in? A beautiful hot pickup by STC, and he drops back down once again. More SCVs engaging. Will take down a couple of these Siege Tanks, but he is now down by about 60 supply. This is not good news at all, as the Siege Tanks are trying to establish defense somewhere to gather more resources. STC could easily just lift off and land another orbital command at gold mineral patches. He's already at, well, he's not at good saturation here. He still can use another 6, but he's in a very good situation. 2,800 minerals a minute. That's the power of mules. 6 mules at this base, as we now see the Siege Tanks preventing this command center from landing. Morrow now down by about 70 supply. His army is pretty much half the size of his opponents. This is not looking good at all, as Siege Tanks are dropping straight on top of all of these units here. A little bit of a Greek victory there, just losing a whole bunch of units, but at the same time knowing that he can lose more than his opponent. I don't even know if I used the correct term there, as we now see Siege Tanks coming in again. Alright, a little bit of hot pickup and dropping again, as we are going to see the Siege Tanks go up onto the high ground, and that will be the GG. Morrow losing game 1. Please stay tuned for game 2 in this best of 3.